darlings, it's a cold autumn morning here in the south of the world. I have run out of candles, a sort of necessity for me in the winter months when brightness seems so absent. So today I'm going to make some. Lighting a wax candle feels like an ancient way of marking time. Bees work with the cycle of the seasons, the rhythms of all other natural beings. I want to make one candle per month of the year, and I am going to tell you a little bit about the myths and folklore of bees. Bees have been relevant in European folklore for many thousands of years. In Greek mythology, they're linked to the Great Mother and to Zeus. When Zeus was born, his father, Kronos, had been told that one of his children would dethrone and destroy him. So instead of allowing them to live, he ate each and every one of them. But Zeus' mother, Rhea, decided to hide Zeus in a cave up on a mountain. And there, with the help of the goats and the bees, Zeus was fed with milk and honey. And outside the cave there were warriors who made clanging sounds with their armor so that Kronos wouldn't find Zeus. And so the baby survived and grew and rewarded the bees with a golden collar that would protect them against the harsh mountain weather. And still to this day, in many parts of Europe, people make clanging noises with pots and pans or cymbals and bells to attract a swarm and take it home. First, humans found bees wild in the forest, inhabiting caves or the hollow trunks of old trees. Then they domesticated them, made beehives and placed them near their homes, and slowly learned to tend to the life of these tiny beings. With the advent of Christianity across Europe, beekeeping expanded. The church needed the wax for candles. The candles used in church services symbolized the image of Christ. The wax was his human body, made by the bees from the loveliest of things. The wick was his mortal life, soon consumed, and the light was understood as his divine person. So the church and secular feudal lords took rent in wax. And medieval writers have a lot to say about bees. They took them as an example, a model of the ideal human society. They didn't know that the bees were ruled by a queen and all the workers were female. They thought their leader was a king and all of them were male soldiers whose obedience was unquestioned, who were a model of courage, prudence, cooperation, industry, order and purity. What they wanted human society to be like, completely obedient to a naturally ordained monarch, virtuous and hardworking. Also in medieval times, in Germanic territories, there was a title for a man who kept bees. This was Bienenvater, father of the bees. The Bienenvater often would make a written contract with the bees, promising in exchange for their work, their honey and their wax, love and care. They were contractually obligated to go say Happy New Year to the bees on New Year's Eve. A Bienenvater had to be generous to those in their community, because the bees took the nectar from the flowers of the human neighbors. Honey and wax had to be distributed. No keeper of the bees could refuse a sick person honey. If you failed to be generous with your neighbors, your next harvest would be bad. The bees would stop working for you. They'd even perish. There are very interesting customs about how to acquire bees. In many places, buying a beehive is a bad idea, an omen of misfortune, and those bees will not thrive. If you bought a beehive, you had to atone for that by giving charity to the poor or do good works for the community. The best way to acquire bees is through a gift or an inheritance. It is said that bees never thrive in a quarrelsome household or with a family who deceives each other, and you must talk to them gently, politely, and tell them of every change in the family, every death, every marriage, every birth, in Christian times every baptism as well. The bees had to feel included in the comings and goings of the family that held them. In order for the bees to like you, you have to avoid everything that offends them, such as being unclean or unchaste. Otherwise, they would sting you or even refuse to work for you. In the British Isles, it is said that beehives are most productive when owned not by one single person or by a married couple, but by a man and a woman who are not married to each other. This gives me the idea that bees want to nourish the community bonds beyond a nuclear family, the connection to others who they're not obviously linked to. Although you cannot buy bees, you can still barter for them, so you can exchange them for other useful goods. It seems bees reject the money economy in which everything is equal and commonplace, flattened into a single, insufficient measure of value. Perhaps to the bees, some things are special and sacred. There are charms to make the swarms of bees stay if they land in your garden. There is an Anglo-Saxon charm called for a swarm of bees, and I'm going to read it to you. Sit ye, victory women, sing to the earth. Do not fly wildly to the woods. Be ye as mindful of my good as every man is of food and country. So this charm calls the bees victory women, Sikawith. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. A name applied in Nordic myths to the Valkyries, the choosers of the slain on the field of battle, the deciders of the fate of men. They appear linked to the Norns, the weavers of the fates of humanity and the caretakers of Yggdrasil, the great tree that connects all worlds. At the root of the great tree there is the Well of Weird, whose water is sacred. Here live the Norns, the three sisters, and every day they take the mud and the water from the well and coat the tree in it to protect it. From the tree then falls the honey dew, a holy nourishment for all beings. The bees feed from it and bring abundance and fertility to all the land. It seems to me that bees are intrinsically, necessarily connected to the fate of humanity. In their flight from flower to flower, they carry pollen necessary for the crops to be fertilized, to be abundant, to give fruit for us to eat and continue living. And nowadays, pesticides, environmental destruction, climate change, there are so many factors that endanger insect populations around the world. Bees are perhaps more necessary than ever. There is a folktale from Romania about the spider and the bee, and it goes like this. A very poor woman had 2 children, a son and a daughter. When they were grown up, seeing that their mother could not provide for them, they went to find work. The girl went to a place where they were building houses, and there she worked day and night, carrying bricks and mortar to the builders. The son went to a weaver and learned there to weave clothes. Not long after, their mother fell ill, and knowing that her end was approaching, she sent for her children. When the message reached their daughter, she was carrying a heavy load of bricks in her apron. She dropped them and ran home as fast as she could, and she found her mother close to passing away. But when the message reached the son, he was weaving, and he said, "I cannot give up my work." And there he stayed quite alone, working away, grumbling all the time. When the mother heard what the son had said, she cursed him and said, "As you have said, so shall it go with you. Day and night you shall weave incessantly and never see the joy of it. What you do, others will destroy, and in a corner you shall sit hated by everybody." And so he became a spider. To her daughter she said, "Daughter, you have been sweet to me and a joy in my last hours. May you always be sweet to all." And then she passed, and her blessing and her curse both came true. The girl was changed into the busy bee whose honey sweetens everything, and the brother was turned into a spider who sits alone and spiteful. I want to do as medieval writers do and take the bees as models for human society, but now we know other things that they didn't know, how they work in sync with the cycles of the seasons, and how the beehive is not a closed system but an open interaction with every other being, with the weather, with the sun, with the flowers. It seems they privilege the natural rhythms of life and the relationship with other beings over productivity and output. So often the thing our society prizes the most, but which can be so taxing, which we are not really made for. I see bees as symbols of community, of right relationship. They show us how to do right by others, how to be generous. They are a reminder that reciprocity is necessary and inherent in our existence in this world. that we are never alone, never isolated, that other beings are as necessary to our survival and our thriving as we are to theirs. Bees tell us to embrace the invisible ties, the deep weave of fate that joins all beings that inhabit this world. They are a reminder and a celebration of interdependence, of prioritizing each other over profit, of the interwoven nature of all life. So this is what I will be thinking about when I light each of these candles. I hope you enjoyed this calming foray into traditional candle making and bee folklore. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all my patrons for making it possible to continue making videos. If you like this video, please subscribe. I hope you receive all the magical blessings of sun and bees and flowers. Goodbye.